We'll start this video off with a clip of Lindsey Graham about to make a spending bill for a whopping $345 billion. Yes, billion with a B. After only 9,000 deportations of illegal aliens, Trump has run out of money and needs more for additional ICE agents, military expenditures, and housing. This seems like a ridiculous amount of money to spend just to deport people and then bring them back in to work legally. There has to be a better way. This video will explore another option by asking AI some questions using common sense, something Trump lacks.
We're here to pass a budget resolution bill that will allow $175 billion to be spent to secure our border, $150 billion to be spent to increase our military capability, about $20 billion, I think, for the Coast Guard.
Question. Trump wants to bring back manufacturing to America. Given the massive scale of manufacturing Trump wants, I think more immigrants would probably be at the top of the list needed. In short, for a large-scale manufacturing revival to succeed, immigration would likely be a critical component of ensuring there are enough workers, both skilled and unskilled, to meet the demand. Policies that allow for both high-skilled labor, engineers, technicians, etc., and lower-skilled labor, assembly line workers, laborers, would be crucial for a comprehensive solution. Question. Given that Trump wants to deport all migrant workers that are here illegally, what kind of strain would this put on the workforce now and in the future of proposed massive manufacturing? Conclusion. In short, if all undocumented migrant workers were deported, the strain on the workforce would be significant, both in the immediate term and in the future. A large portion of the labor force in key industries, especially those tied to manufacturing, relies on immigrant workers, both documented and undocumented. Removing them could lead to a shortage of workers, increased operational costs, and a slowdown in the ability to scale up manufacturing as envisioned. The potential economic and social disruptions could undermine the long-term success of bringing manufacturing back to the U.S. without a significant shift in immigration policy or investment in workforce development. Question. Congress is now considering spending $345 billion to get rid of the illegal workers. Is that a wise move economically? Conclusion. Spending $345 billion to remove illegal workers may not be a wise economic move, especially in the context of Trump's plans to bring back massive manufacturing. The immediate and long-term costs of deportation, including labor shortages, business disruptions, and reduced economic productivity, could far outweigh any perceived benefits. The decision could create significant economic instability, increase inflation, and damage key industries. Alternative strategies, such as creating pathways for legalization, investing in workforce development, and targeted immigration reform, might be more effective and less disruptive to the economy in the long run. Question. Let's focus on employers asking the government to import workers and give them visas to work. Conclusion. Importing workers and granting them visas to fill labor gaps is a critical tool for many employers in the U.S. to keep their industries running smoothly, especially in sectors with persistent labor shortages. While this approach helps fill immediate workforce needs, it raises questions about wage suppression, job displacement for U.S. workers, and long-term workforce stability. To make this policy more sustainable and beneficial, there needs to be a balance between attracting foreign workers and investing in the domestic workforce, including education, job training, and improving working conditions across industries. Furthermore, thoughtful immigration reform that provides pathways for legal employment, protections for workers, and fairness for all stakeholders is crucial. Question. Are you aware of the situation in Springfield, Ohio, where employers petitioned the government for workers since they could not find Americans to work, and the government obliged by sending over thousands of Haitians and gave them work visas? Yes, I am aware of the situation in Springfield, Ohio, where numerous businesses faced labor shortages and sought to address this by bringing in Haitian immigrants. Over the past few years, Springfield has experienced a significant increase in its population, largely due to an influx of legal immigrants choosing the city as their new home. While there isn't an official count, estimates suggest that thousands of Haitian immigrants have settled in Springfield, contributing to the local workforce and economy. CNN.com. The arrival of these immigrants has been a response to labor demands in various sectors, including manufacturing, agriculture, and service industries. Their presence has been instrumental in revitalizing Springfield's economy, which had previously faced challenges such as population decline and economic stagnation. Question: is this situation going on in other cities in America? Conclusion: yes, the situation in Springfield, Ohio, is not unique. Across the U.S., cities are facing similar challenges in filling workforce gaps, especially in industries like agriculture, manufacturing, construction, and healthcare. Immigrant labor has become an essential component of the workforce in many of these regions. However, the challenge remains how to balance the need for foreign workers with broader social, political, and economic concerns, such as wage levels, job displacement, and integration into local communities. Question: how much could the country save by not spending $345 billion for deporting illegal workers, and instead grant them visas to work so they're here legally? Conclusion: by choosing to grant work visas to undocumented immigrants rather than deporting them, the U.S. could not only save billions in direct deportation costs, but also reap the economic rewards of a more productive and legally employed workforce. The $345 billion proposed for deportation could be avoided, and in the long run, legalization could contribute to a stronger economy, higher tax revenue, and greater economic output. The total savings and gains would depend on how the policy is structured, but economic studies consistently show that legalization would likely result in a positive net benefit for the U.S. economy. Question: didn't Ronald Reagan do this when he was president? Yes, you are correct. Ronald Reagan did indeed implement a significant immigration reform during his presidency that involved legalizing a large portion of undocumented immigrants in the U.S. This was part of the Immigration Reform and Control Act, IRCA, of 1986, which is one of the most notable immigration reforms in U.S. history. Question: Trump's immigration plan is to deport the illegal workers and then bring in more workers with visas. Conclusion: yes, Trump's current proposals are focused on deporting undocumented workers and then possibly allowing some of them to return legally through work visas or other mechanisms. This differs from the more direct approach used by Reagan in 1986, which legalized undocumented immigrants without deportation. While Trump's approach aims to control immigration more strictly, it faces significant practical, economic, and humanitarian challenges, and many argue that a focus on legalization without deportation could provide more immediate benefits without the high cost and disruption of mass deportation. Question: which would be a better solution financially for the country, Reagan's or Trump's? Conclusion: Reagan's approach to immigration reform, legalizing undocumented immigrants without deporting them, was financially better for the country compared to Trump's deportation-first approach. Legalization brought immediate economic benefits by increasing tax revenue, reducing business disruptions, and stabilizing the workforce. It also avoided the massive costs associated with deportation and allowed the U.S. to benefit from the contributions of immigrants in a more organized, sustainable way. In contrast, Trump's proposal to deport all undocumented immigrants would incur significant costs and likely lead to economic disruption, reduced productivity, and slower growth. The logistics and costs of deportation would be astronomical, and the economic benefits of allowing workers to stay and contribute would likely outweigh the costs of removing them. Ultimately, Reagan's approach of providing a pathway to legalization without deportation represents the more financially viable solution for the U.S. question. Why do you think Trump would take the worst financial way of doing this? Conclusion: Trump's deportation-first approach may seem financially inefficient, but it's rooted in several strategic and ideological priorities, including his commitment to strict immigration enforcement, national security concerns, economic nationalism, and fulfilling campaign promises. He and his supporters see the act of deportation as a necessary measure to secure the border and preserve jobs for American citizens, even if it comes at a financial cost in the short term. The financial costs associated with mass deportation are significant, but the policy reflects a broader vision that prioritizes enforcing the rule of law, reducing illegal immigration, and focusing on a merit-based immigration system. However, from an economic standpoint, Reagan's approach, legalizing undocumented immigrants, would likely yield better financial outcomes in the long term by fostering economic growth, increasing tax revenue, and stabilizing the workforce. In the end, Trump's approach is a reflection of his broader political ideology and his base's priorities rather than a purely economic calculation. Whether it's the best financial move for the country is still up for debate, but the policy choices stem more from political motivations than financial reasoning. Question. So, Trump would spend more for the same result? Yes, in a sense. Trump's deportation-first approach could result in more spending for similar outcomes compared to a legalization-first approach like Reagan's. Here's how. Deportation costs. Trump's proposed approach of deporting millions of undocumented immigrants would incur substantial immediate costs, including the infrastructure for mass deportations, detention centers, transportation, legal proceedings, etc., which could total hundreds of billions of dollars. Lost economic contributions. Deporting workers who contribute significantly to various sectors of the economy, like agriculture, manufacturing, and services, would likely create disruptions and labor shortages that could slow down economic growth. This could result in businesses facing higher operating costs as they scramble to fill gaps in the workforce. Reentry costs. If Trump's plan involves allowing workers to return later via work visas, the process of recruiting, processing, and managing these workers would add another layer of expense. There's also uncertainty about how many workers would return or be eligible for reentry. In contrast, Reagan's approach, legalization of undocumented workers, had lower initial costs, avoided the disruption of mass deportations, and provided an economic boost by stabilizing the workforce and increasing tax contributions without displacing millions of workers. So, Trump's proposal could be more expensive for the same or even potentially worse results, considering the long-term economic stability and the fiscal impact of legalization. Question. If AI had to make the decision on pure economics instead of politically charged rhetoric to rile up a base, what would it choose? Conclusion. If the decision were made based solely on economic factors, AI would likely recommend legalization over deportation for the following key reasons. Lower cost. Legalization avoids the high costs of deportation, enforcement, and potential disruptions in the economy. Higher tax revenue. Legal workers contribute to taxes, Social Security, and other programs, which benefits the economy in the long term. Increased productivity. Legal workers tend to be more productive and integrated into the economy, boosting overall economic growth. Stable workforce. Legalization ensures that industries relying on immigrant labor remain stable, reducing disruptions that could hurt businesses and competitiveness. Overall, legalization presents a more economically efficient and sustainable solution compared to deportation, especially when considering the long-term benefits to the workforce, tax base, and overall economic stability. While the political factors may push for more dramatic measures like deportation, the purely economic decision would likely favor the more pragmatic, inclusive approach of legalization. Question. Trump has said he's making policies with common sense, yet his policy on immigration seems at odds with this? Conclusion. From an economic standpoint, a common-sense approach would likely focus on maximizing productivity and minimizing disruption to the economy. In this case, legalizing undocumented workers, who are already an integral part of various industries, would be more beneficial than the costly and disruptive process of mass deportation. While Trump's policies may resonate with his base, they don't always align with the economic logic of what's best for the long-term stability and growth of the U.S. economy. If AI or economists were to make the decision based purely on economic efficiency, they would likely lean toward a path to legalization for undocumented immigrants rather than pursuing mass deportations. If you like this content, please subscribe, hit the like button, and comment below this video, and we will be back with more content soon. Thanks for watching. And remember, don't believe the BS, disinformation, and horse manure Trump and Musk are trying to shove down your throat. Have everything fact-checked. Down with Big Brother.